I never thought I'd test my own wife. But sometimes life whispers a doubt so quietly, you don't even notice it creeping in. It started with one conversation, one sentence, one tiny crack that kept growing. A friend of mine, Arjun, was venting about his divorce. "She changed the moment I lost money," he said. "It's like she married my bank account, not me." I laughed it off at first. My wife Maya wasn't like that. She had stood by me through early struggles. She celebrated my promotions, but she never made money the center of love. At least, I believed so. But Arjun's words didn't leave my head. What if I was wrong? What if she loved the life I provided, not the man I was? Then the doubt started stacking. She bought expensive skincare, started talking about raising standards, commented on how her coworker's wife got lucky because her husband was a millionaire. Small things, normal things, but doubt magnifies every shadow. One night, while Maya was scrolling through her phone next to me, I asked casually, "What would you do if I suddenly lost everything?" She didn't look up. "That won't happen," she said simply. "I know," I pressed gently. "But if it did?" She shrugged. "Let's not talk about depressing things." It wasn't a bad answer, but it wasn't a comforting one. And that's when the idea came. A dangerous idea, a foolish idea, a test I should have never designed. But once the thought formed, it sank its claws deep. What does your partner do when the world collapses? Who do they become? There's only one way to know. You make the world collapse. The next morning, I called my lawyer, my business partner, and 2 trusted friends. "I need your help," I told them. "I'm going to pretend I'm broke." They thought I was insane, but I needed the truth, even if it broke me. That evening, I sat Maya down. She was drinking tea, relaxed, peaceful, completely unaware that I was about to set off an earthquake in our marriage. "Maya, something's happened," I said, forcing the tremble into my voice. She looked up instantly, concerned. What happened? "Are you okay?" I swallowed hard. I lost everything. The company went into emergency liquidation. All accounts frozen, lawsuits pending. I'm broke. Her face changed. Not shock, not sympathy, something else. Stillness, like someone hitting pause. How broke?" she whispered. "Completely." Silence, long. Heavy cracking. She put her cup down with shaking fingers. I need time to process this." Then she stood up and walked away. Not into my arms. Not toward me, away. That was the moment my heart dropped. But I had to stick with the test. Because the truth was coming. The next 2 days unfolded like a slow-motion nightmare. She avoided long conversations, kept her phone close. Started going out more. On the 3rd morning, I sold my car, another part of the act, and Ubered home. She stood in the doorway, staring at the empty parking spot. "You sold it?" she asked. "I had to," I said quietly. Her jaw tightened. This is becoming too much. I wanted her to hug me, tell me we'd make it, tell me she didn't marry a lifestyle. Instead, she whispered, "How are we supposed to live like this?" Her "we" sounded fragile. Forced that night, I heard her talking on the phone. I wasn't trying to spy, but her voice carried down the hall. "It's like he's a completely different person," she said. "I don't know if I can live like this." My heart cracked, not fully, but enough to let dread seep in. Was Arjun right? Was I married to someone who loved my success more than me? The next day brought the moment that changed everything. The moment this story truly began. She came home dressed beautifully, hairstyled, makeup flawless, wearing heels she never used for casual outings. "Where are you going?" I asked, confused. "A friend invited me to dinner," she said quickly. Her tone was distant. I nodded. "Which friend?" She hesitated. "A coworker." "You don't know him." "Him?" My chest tightened, my mouth went dry. "I didn't realize it was a him," I said carefully. Her eyes flickered away. "Don't make this something it's not." Then she walked out without looking back. Without asking if I wanted to come. Without caring how I felt. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling, imagining her laughing with another man. A man who wasn't broke. A man who didn't suddenly lose everything. The test was working, and it was killing me. But the worst part wasn't the idea of her interest in someone else. It was the question pounding inside my skull. Was this who she really was? Or was I the monster who created this version of her? Because I lied. I manipulated. I created a world where she didn't feel safe. Maybe she wasn't failing the test. Maybe I was failing my marriage. And just when I thought the night couldn't get worse, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. My blood froze. Because the message said, "You need to come to the restaurant now, it's about your wife." The message on my phone repeated in my head like a siren. "You need to come to the restaurant now, it's about your wife." I stared at the screen, my pulse hammering in my neck. Who sent it? Was she in danger? Was she with another man? Was someone warning me or mocking me? I grabbed my jacket and rushed out of the apartment. Every step toward the restaurant felt heavier than the last, like I was walking toward the truth, and the truth was sharpening its teeth. The restaurant was only 10 minutes away, but I swear that walk felt like crossing a battlefield. My mind created hundreds of scenarios. None of them ended well. When I reached the entrance, my palms were cold, my breathing shallow. Inside, people were laughing, eating, clinking glasses. Life was moving normally, except mine. I scanned the room, my eyes landing on her instantly. Maya. She was sitting at a small corner table, not alone. Across from her was a man, tall, confident, dressed in a crisp shirt, the type who looked like money wasn't a problem he ever had. He leaned close to her. Too close, my stomach twisted. But it twisted harder when I saw her face. She wasn't smiling flirtatiously. She wasn't glowing with attraction. She looked broken, worried, scared. Her fingers were fidgeting with the edge of her napkin, twisting it so tightly it looked like she might tear it apart. The man said something I couldn't hear. Then he reached across the table and touched her hand. I saw it, my brain exploded instantly. But the next moment changed everything. She pulled her hand away, forcefully, and leaned back in her chair, her lips moved. 2 words I read clearly even from a distance: "I'm married." For a split second, relief washed over me, then anger, then confusion. If she wasn't interested, why was she here? I didn't want to confront them in public. I needed answers, not a scene. But before I could move, someone grabbed my arm. I spun around. It was a woman, mid-40s, waitress uniform. "You're her husband, right?" She whispered. My heart stopped. "Yes," I said. "Who are you?" "I'm the one who sent the message," she said quickly. "Please follow me before you misunderstand." Before I misunderstand, I followed her to a quiet corner near the bar. She spoke fast, glancing over her shoulder. "She's been sitting there for 15 minutes. That man keeps trying to convince her of something. She refused a drink he bought. She tried to leave, but he blocked her path. She looks uncomfortable, sir." I clenched my fists so tightly my nails dug into my palms. "Why didn't she leave?" "Because he keeps talking about offering her a job," the waitress said. "A high-paying one." My stomach dropped. So that was it. Money, security, comfort. Everything I pretended I had lost. Was she considering it? The waitress touched my arm gently. "She hasn't flirted once," she said. "She hasn't smiled. She hasn't touched him back. I just thought you should know the truth before jumping to conclusions." Her voice softened. "She looks like a woman trying her best not to fall apart." Her words hit harder than any punch. My vision blurred for a moment as guilt flooded me. What had I done? What pressure had I created? What fear had I pushed her into? Maybe she wasn't replacing me. Maybe she was trying to survive the collapse I created. I whispered, "Thank you." "Go to her gently," the waitress said, squeezing my wrist. "She's scared of everything." I walked toward their table slowly, every step feeling like walking into fire. The man noticed me first. He smiled, not kindly but with the smugness of someone who thought he held power. "Ah," he said loudly. "The husband arrives." Maya stiffened and turned. When her eyes landed on me, shock, relief, fear, shame. A storm in one expression. "Adam," she whispered, her voice cracked. My heart twisted painfully. The man stood up casually, putting one hand in his pocket. "So you're the husband," he said. "Look, man, your wife here is just considering better opportunities, especially since you're—" He smirked. "Broke now." Something inside me snapped, but I didn't shout. I didn't punch him, though every part of me wanted to. I looked straight at him and said calmly, "She's not interested. She's leaving with me," he shrugged. If she wanted to leave, she would have left already. I stepped closer. She tried. His smirk faded slightly. Then I turned to Maya. She looked like she was unraveling. "Maya," I said softly, "let's go home." Tears filled her eyes instantly. Not guilt tears, relieved tears. She stood up so fast her chair scraped loudly. But the man grabbed her arm. Now the fire in my body turned into an inferno. I moved instinctively, breaking his grip with one swift motion. "Don't touch my wife," I said, my voice low and dangerous. This time the man stepped back. She came to my side immediately, gripping my arm like she was drowning and I was the only thing keeping her above water. The waitress appeared again and said to the man, "Sir, you need to leave now." People were watching. The man cursed under his breath, grabbed his jacket and walked out, slamming the door behind him. The restaurant fell silent for a moment, then life resumed. But our life had just shattered into pieces. Outside the restaurant, in the cold night air, Maya finally broke. Her body collapsed into mine as she sobbed uncontrollably. "I wasn't going with him," she cried. "I swear, Adam, I swear I didn't want him. I told him no, he kept pushing. I held her. I didn't say a word." Her tears soaked through my shirt. After a minute, she pulled away and looked into my eyes with desperation. "Why didn't you tell me the truth?" she whispered. "Why did you let me believe we lost everything?" Her voice cracked painfully. "Why did you let me suffer alone?" Her question sliced through me. Because that was the real truth. She wasn't failing the test. I was failing her. Not her test mine. Her question hit with the force of a wrecking ball. "Why did you let me suffer alone?" For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Her voice wasn't angry, it was wounded. She wasn't furious, I lied. She was devastated. I didn't trust her enough to tell her the truth. Her mascara streaked down her cheeks. Her chest heaved from sobbing. She looked like a woman who had been fighting silent battles. All because I decided to test her loyalty. The words stuck in my throat. Nothing I could say would make sense. Nothing could justify what I'd done. She stepped back from me, wrapping her arms around herself for warmth or protection. "Do you have any idea what these last 3 days were like for me?" she whispered. I swallowed hard. "Tell me." She looked at me with disbelief. "You want me to explain the pain you caused?" I lowered my head. "Yes, because I need to understand all of it." Something in her eyes softened just a little, enough to allow her to speak without shattering. She took a shaky breath. "Fine." "1 minute," she began. "We were a normal couple. Laughing, living, planning vacations, talking about the future." She wiped her eyes with trembling fingers. "And the next minute you were broke. Everything gone, just like that." She exhaled shakily. "I didn't sleep the first night. My stomach twisted with guilt. I kept checking on you while you were pretending to sleep. You had your back to me the whole time, and I felt like you'd already disappeared." I closed my eyes, she continued. "The second day I started panicking. I looked up jobs. I called my mother." She stopped suddenly, looking away. "You called your mother?" I asked quietly. She nodded. "Yes, because I wanted advice. Not money, advice." Shame flooded me. I had wanted to test whether she valued money, and she turned to her mother for emotional strength. She kept speaking. She told me something that broke me. "Maybe this is your chance to finally support him the way he's always supported you." My throat tightened, and she was right. So I thought, fine, I'll pick up extra work. I'll help however I can. I'll adjust, I'll be there. She looked at me then. "Do you know why I bought new clothes that day?" I hesitated. "I thought it was for another man." Her eyes widened with heartbreak. "No, Adam. It was for a job interview. One that pays better. I wasn't going to replace you. I was trying to save us," my breath caught. All the assumption, all the fears, were poisoning my clarity. She laughed bitterly. "I was sitting in that restaurant because that man offered me a job. I thought if I earned more, you'd feel less pressure. But the moment I realized he had intentions beyond professional, I wanted to leave." Tears streamed down her face again. I wasn't choosing him, I was choosing us. I felt the weight of her words drop inside me like a stone. "And then," she whispered, "you walked in. But not the husband I knew. You walked in like a judge." My chest ached. She took another step back, hugging herself tighter. "I'm not angry that you tested me," she said softly. "I'm angry that you expected me to fail." Her voice broke completely. "You expected the worst from me, Adam. That's what hurts." I stepped closer, my voice shaking. "Maya, I didn't do this because I doubted your character." She looked away. "I did it because I doubted myself." That made her pause. "What?" "I doubted whether I was worthy of unconditional love," I said quietly. "I doubted whether I mattered without my success." Her expression softened slightly. "My entire identity," I said, "was tied to providing for you, for us." When Arjun told me his wife left after his bankruptcy, something cracked inside me. "Arjun?" she repeated. I nodded. He said losing money revealed who his wife truly was. And suddenly, I became terrified of losing you too. she whispered. So instead of trusting me, you pushed me to a point where I thought you were the one leaving me. Her voice was trembling again, but calmer. I know, I said, and that's on me. She stared at me, really looking now, searching for truth, looking for sincerity. And when you didn't hug me, I said softly, when I told you everything was gone, I panicked. I thought you were already checking out of the marriage. She shook her head gently. I didn't hug you because I didn't want to break down in front of you. I wanted to be strong. I wanted you to think I could handle it. Suddenly, it clicked. We were mirrors of each other, both pretending to be strong, both hiding fear, both terrified of burdening the other, both suffering alone. She whispered, we could have survived this together, but instead we suffered separately. My voice cracked, I know, and I'm so sorry. Her tears slowed, her breathing steadied. Then she whispered the question that could shatter everything. Is the test over? I nodded. Yes, it's over. Her eyes burned into mine. Then tell me the truth, Adam. She stepped closer. Do we still have a marriage to save? The night went silent. My heart stopped. This was the real moment of truth. Not my test. Not hers, this. What I said next would define our marriage forever. And the next words left my mouth before I even thought, yes, we do. If you're willing to fight with me. She stared at me and then whispered, then tell me everything. No more lies, no more tests. And I knew. The next morning, sunlight crept into the small bedroom I'd been sleeping in. I had barely closed my eyes all night. Every time I drifted off, my mind replayed the image of Emily sitting alone in the dark, crying while reading my old letters. How long had she been carrying this weight? How long had she been hurting without saying a word? I sat up slowly, my body heavy, not from sleep but from the realization that I might have pushed her into this emotional collapse. When I had pretended to be broke, I thought I was conducting a simple test. But now the test had turned into something damaging, shaking the foundation of our marriage more than I ever intended. I stepped into the hallway and heard soft movements from the kitchen. Emily. She was humming, but it sounded forced, strained, like she was trying to pretend everything was fine. I walked in and found her flipping pancakes, something she only did when she wanted to comfort herself. Morning, I said quietly. She startled slightly. Oh, hey, breakfast will be ready in a minute. She kept her eyes on the pan. I moved closer. Emily, about last night. It's okay, she said quickly, too quickly. You were tired. I shouldn't have brought up the past like that. I swallowed hard. This wasn't okay. Not even close. Please look at me, I said gently. She froze, spatula in hand, then slowly turned. Her eyes were swollen from crying. I felt guilt punch me square in the chest. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry for everything. For what? I stepped closer, but she leaned back slightly, not out of fear, but out of emotional exhaustion. For stressing you out, for not being enough. For making you think you needed to test me. Her voice cracked. A single tear slipped down her cheek. And in that moment I understood. My test hadn't been just a test. It had been a message, one she interpreted painfully. A message that I doubted her loyalty, her character, her love, and I hadn't considered how deep my actions would cut. Emily, I said softly, you are more than enough. You always have been. I didn't test you because I doubted you. I tested you because I doubted myself. She blinked, confused. What do you mean? I let out a shaky breath and sat at the kitchen table. Sit with me? She hesitated, then joined me, folding her hands nervously. For months, I said, I felt like I wasn't doing enough. Like I wasn't earning enough, giving enough, providing enough. Every time you mentioned saving money or being careful with expenses, I felt like you were hinting that I wasn't keeping up. And instead of talking to you, I panicked. I thought, what if money really mattered more than I realized? What if I lost everything and you couldn't handle it? Emily stared at me, shock written across her face. Daniel, I never meant to make you feel that way. I know, I whispered, but I still felt it. And instead of communicating, I chose a stupid experiment. She exhaled shakily. I didn't want to stress you. I was trying to save because I felt scared. I felt like we weren't building a future. Like we were stuck in the same place. But I didn't want you to feel burdened. So I kept it inside. For a long moment, we sat in silence as the weight of our unspoken fears filled the room between us. I guess we're both bad at asking for help, I said gently. Emily let out a small, sad laugh. Yeah, maybe. I reached across the table and placed my hand over hers. She didn't pull away this time. "Let's talk," I said softly. "Really talk," her eyes softened. "Okay." We began unraveling months of bottled-up emotions. Her fear of instability, my fear of inadequacy, her pressure to maintain a happy home, my pressure to be the perfect provider. It was messy. It was raw, but it was real. At one point, she whispered, "When you said you were broke, I realized money never mattered. But losing you, that terrified me." My throat tightened. "You never lost me." "But it felt like it," she said. "You were withdrawing. You stopped laughing with me. You went quiet. I thought I'd done something wrong." "You did nothing wrong," I said firmly. "I just didn't know how to express my stress." She squeezed my hand. "Then we both need to do better." We sat like that for a long time, hands intertwined, pain slowly dissolving in the warmth of honesty. Just when I thought the conversation had reached its peak, Emily took a deep breath and said, "There's something else I need to tell you." My heart skipped. "What is it?" She looked down at her lap, twisting her fingers nervously. "When you told your brother you were broke, I overheard him say something that really hurt me." I frowned. "What did he say?" She hesitated, then whispered. "He said, 'Let's see if she stays when the money goes.' Women always show their true colors." My stomach turned. "I didn't know you overheard," I whispered. "I heard everything," she said softly. "It broke me, Daniel. Not because of what he said, but because you didn't defend me." Her words hit me harder than anything before. She was right. I hadn't defended her. I had let the narrative run its course because I wanted the test to play out. But in doing so, I had allowed someone to question her character, a woman who had stood by me through everything. "I'm so sorry," I said, voice cracking. "I should have protected you. I should have told him he was wrong. I should have never allowed anyone to question your integrity." She looked up, tears filling her eyes. "I didn't need money from you. I needed reassurance. I needed partnership. I needed us to be a team. And we will be," I said firmly. "No more secrets, no more tests, no more assumptions. We talk, we share, we trust." She nodded slowly, wiping her eyes. "Okay, I want that." Just then, the conversation was interrupted by the sound of my phone buzzing on the counter. I got up and glanced at the screen. It was my business partner. I froze. Emily noticed. "What is it?" I hesitated. "It's about the deal," she straightened. "The big merger?" I nodded. My phone buzzed again, persistent. "Go," she said softly. "Take it," I answered. "Hello?" My partner's voice came through, energetic, breathless. "Daniel, they accepted. The investment deal went through. We're fully funded. You're no longer broke, far from it." My eyes widened. Emily stared at me, waiting. "And Daniel," my partner added, "your projected income is about to triple." I stood still, unable to speak. Emily whispered, "What happened? Tell me." And just like that, the moment that would decide our future, our trust, our choices, our intentions, hung in the air like a fragile thread ready to snap. This was the moment everything would change. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. The call ended, but the echo of my partner's voice still rang in my ears. "You're not broke anymore. You're about to triple your income." It was over, the test, the fear, the pretending. But strangely, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt hollow. I looked at Emily. Her face was unreadable, eyes flickering with confusion, suspicion, and something deeper, hope. I put the phone down slowly. "The deal went through," I said softly. "We're back on our feet." She blinked, unsure. "Wait, what? That fast?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "We're financially fine now, more than fine, actually." Silence. She just stood there, studying my face like she was trying to read a secret between my eyes. And then she said the one thing I hadn't prepared for. "Does that mean the test is finally over?" I exhaled. "Yes, completely." Tears shimmered in her eyes again. But this time they weren't from anger. They were from relief. "You really thought I'd leave you if you were broke?" she whispered. I nodded slowly, ashamed. "Yes, I did. And that's the biggest mistake I've ever made." She stared at me, voice trembling. "You let me cry myself to sleep every night, Daniel. You watched me struggle. You watched me worry about bills and groceries just to see if I'd still love you." "I know," I said, guilt flooding my chest. "I thought I was testing your loyalty, but I ended up testing my own heart instead." She crossed her arms, shaking her head. "And what did you learn?" "That you were never the one who needed testing. I said quietly. It was me. I needed to learn what love actually means. Emily's lips parted slightly, but she didn't speak. She was waiting for the truth to go deeper, so I let it. I thought love was comfort, I continued. Security. Success. But watching you these last few days, seeing how you tried to adapt, how you worried for me, how you stayed even when it hurt, made me realize something. Her voice cracked softly. What? That love isn't tested when things are perfect. It's tested when everything falls apart and you still choose each other. A tear slipped down her cheek, but she didn't hide it this time. I stepped closer, gently brushing her face. You passed a test you never should have taken. Her lips quivered. And what about you? What did you pass? I gave a faint, broken smile. The hardest one of all, admitting I was wrong. Emily sank into a chair, covering her face with her hands. You broke my heart, Daniel, she whispered. But I still can't hate you. That shattered me. I knelt beside her. You don't have to forgive me today. I just want you to know I see you now. Every sacrifice. Every moment you held this marriage together while I was too blinded by fear. She looked up, her eyes red but softer. You know what hurt most? What? When you said you were broke, I realized money didn't matter to me. Losing you did. But when I found out it was a test, it felt like you didn't value what we had at all. I felt the sting of truth in every word. You're right, I said. I let insecurity destroy trust. I was so focused on proving love that I nearly destroyed it. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The air between us felt heavy but not hopeless. Then Emily said something that broke the silence like sunlight after a storm. Let's not let this be our ending. I looked at her, stunned. What do you mean? I mean, she said softly, if we survive this, then maybe we can rebuild. But this time, with honesty, not experiments. A wave of relief washed through me. You really mean that? She nodded, tears falling freely now. I do, because despite everything, I still love you. That's when I broke. I pulled her into my arms, and she didn't resist this time. She clung to me like she had been holding her breath for days, and now, finally, she could exhale. We cried together, not out of pain, but out of release. The test was over, the lies were over. The pretending was over. All that remained was raw, human truth. Over the next few days, things began to shift. We really talked about fears, about the pressure to succeed, about childhood lessons that shaped how we saw money and love. We started therapy together, not because our marriage was broken, but because we wanted to learn how to rebuild it the right way. One evening, Emily handed me an envelope. What's this? I asked. She smiled faintly. Your final test. I frowned. Please tell me you're not getting even with me. She laughed. A real laugh this time. Just open it. Inside was a photo of us from 5 years ago, our honeymoon in Greece. On the back she had written, we didn't fall in love because of money. We fell in love because we believed in each other. Let's go back there, I looked up. You mean go back to Greece? She nodded. A new beginning. And in that moment I realized the real wealth wasn't the deal that made me rich again. It was her. Her forgiveness, her love, her resilience. 6 months later, we stood on the same Greek beach where we'd once watched the sunset as newlyweds. But this time it was different. This time there were no lies. No pretending, just truth. We sat quietly watching the horizon melt into gold. Emily rested her head on my shoulder. Do you ever wish you hadn't done it? She asked softly. I thought for a moment, then said yes and no. She raised an eyebrow. That's not an answer. I smiled gently. I wish I hadn't hurt you. But if I hadn't, I might never have realized how deeply you love me. You showed me that love isn't measured by comfort, it's measured by courage. She smiled faintly. Then let's never test each other again. Deal, I said, kissing her forehead. From now on, we don't test love, we build it. As the sun dipped into the water, I finally understood. Sometimes we create storms to see who will stay. But the people who truly love us, they don't need storms to prove it. They're already holding the umbrella. And that's when I whispered more to myself than to her. I was never testing her. I was testing fate, and she passed. Emily looked up, smiling through tears. We both did. The waves crashed softly like applause from the universe as we held hands and watched the light fade into peace.